Right, so the first thing I have to do after this was all delivered is to check them off to make sure that they're here and that, you know, everything's here and it's in good condition. So this one has a little label that you can see there, bench seat table rest passenger. So bench seat table rest passenger. So that's there. Let's just check that it's okay. That looks fine, so I'll tick that off. Bench seat table rest passenger. So that one's there and it's okay. And then we hear next is bench seat table rest driver. Let's see. Where's that then? Oh, here we are. Bench seat table rest driver there. Just check that it's in good condition, and it is. So bench seat table rest driver, so that's okay. So I'm going to go through this list now, just check everything off. That's the first thing I need to do, and then we can start looking at getting all of the T-trim onto all these components, and the bigger components, of course, the tabletop, the worktop, and the front and back of the unit. Right, and down to the workshop, and now I need to check these larger items, like the main unit interior panel passenger. And obviously what I'm checking is where it's been routed out for the T-trim, and that everything's okay, and it does appear to be on that one. Right, so I've sorted all the kit out and it's all here. So the first thing I'm going to do now is to install the T-trim around all of the panels. Now the T-trim is the stuff you see when you look in any camper van or motorhomes, some motorhomes, the edging around all of the panels, the rubberized stuff. So I want to get that installed to all the panels to make sure there's enough of it, and once I've done that I can then start thinking about putting the hinges on, the locks on, and then really getting on with the assembly. So this is the T-trim, and the reason it's called T-trim is because, can you see that? It's actually shaped like a T. And that the panels will be routed all the way around the outside of them, and this taps into that with that little slot that you can see here, and hopefully it goes in nicely. It's got little lips on the edges that you can possibly see there that just laps over the side of the veneer and makes a nice finish, a nice tidy finish to the job. Right, so let's crack on. I made this stand out of some old timber that I'd got in an old piece of metal conduit, so that I could put the drum on it that's got the T-trim and just pull it off nice and neatly without it getting all tangled up. So that's the first one done. You can see the trim is fixed all the way around. Now you want to have your join, you can just about see, obviously you want to try and get the join as good as you can, but in the most hidden place. So with the table, for example, this is the rail side of the table as it says there, and or if it's on the cupboard doors and things, put it where the hinges are going. Anyway, so that's that, and what I actually used was this rubber mallet with a little foamy piece just stuck on there, which has been working well, and obviously it's just a case of tapping it in all the way around. I'll show you in a moment how to deal, I forgot to do that while I was filming this one, but I'll show you how to deal with the little snicks you put in the edging just to get it round corners. So if you're going round a corner externally, you put a V shape in just to give it a little bit of a leeway. If you're going internally, you just put a single slot. So these are the tools that you're basically going to need for the installation of the trim. You want some sort of soft blow hammer or mallet like this, and I've just put a little soft stick-on piece there. Got a pack of those for about £1, 6 of them, which is perfect. You want a pair of side cutters or some sort of snip so you can cut the little V's in the trim, a marker pen or a pencil, and a sharp knife. And I've found with a pack of these cheap knives here because you really want sharp blades, so you can just throw these away and keep using them. But that's it, that's the tools you require for the job, so let's get on with it. What I should mention is I'm here in my workshop doing this, and there's the roll of T-trim, and I've got it running out there to my Black & Decker workmate, and my mother-in-law bought me that back in 1979, a year after Suzanne and I got married, and it's been amazing and still is after all of those years. Well, that one was a challenge. I do hope there's no more like that. Well, unfortunately, yes, there is another one with a knobbly end on it. So what I'm going to try, bring it under the light a bit. So what I'm going to try to do is take you with me while I'm doing this one. So let's just get the T-trim. Now I'm having to run a heater separately when I get to these corners because it needs to be really subtle. So let me just start this off and then I'll square the end off. That's it. I'll square the end off once I've finished, but anyway, so I need to tap all the way along here. As I say, I've got that soft piece there on this soft blow mallet, so that's helping. Now obviously what I've got to do now, I'm going to apply a bit of heat, a bit of extra heat. Right, I'm going to apply a bit of extra heat here to this T-trim, just to help me get it round this tight little bend. And as you can see in there, I hope you can, it's kinking. That's why, can you see that kink just there? That's why you need to cut the little V's in it on the external corners, and then you just cut the slot on the internal. So we have to do both of those cuts on a shape like this. But I'm just softening this up a little bit. That's it. Now what I'll do is just get my cutters. Now you can use a knife or cutters, but I've been using these cutters, and just pull that back slightly and get a nice V in there like that. Just cut the V out. Let me just have a look, put another one just there. And cut that out. Now soften it up a little bit more. Hope you can see this. I've got the camera fixed to my chest here. Right, that's nearly there. Let's see. Okay. Right, and then what I need to do is to tap that piece on there and then start forcing it around. Ooh, got the mallet hitting the camera there. Force it around that bend here, because you've got to be mindful that you need a good finish. Pull it all the way around here. That's it. Just work it all the way around. Now what we have to do, we've got an internal bend just here, so I'm just going to put a little slot. I'll put a couple of them like that, just to make it a little bit easier to get around that bend. So let's and you've just got to keep working it around until you get to what you want. Okay, and as you can see, that's gone around there okay. Now for an internal, I usually use this little curvy piece on the side cutters here, just to get that right in. I hope that's showing it there. Just to get it right in there like that. And then back up here, start moving along the straight piece. And that should do. And there you are, that's it. So that's not too bad. So, I've been waiting for a package to come from the company that supplied me with the rear conversion. It's the main door for the front of the unit in the van that had a bit of damage when it arrived. No problems, no questions asked, they just sent me another one, and it's here just in time to be the last one. So better get on with it and get it done. I'll do this door so you can see how much easier it is with just a straightforward piece of wood without any strange shapes on it. And I'll include at the end how to do the finishing joint. So this is how you deal with the joint where the start and the finish of the T-trim meet. You overlap the trim by about ½ inch and with a nice sharp knife cut it off. You then cut the piece of trim that you started with at the same length as the piece you just cut where the two met. And then you just lay your knife blade flat onto the wood and trim off the start piece. But of course what that's going to do is leave the little piece that pushes into the timber just there by about ½ inch. So the T-trim is not going to hammer down into there, so you've got to take off that piece of the T-trim by again around about ½ inch, as you can see I'm doing there. So the little protruding piece underneath, just split that up there like that and then cut it away. Obviously mind your fingers because those knives are very sharp. And that's it. That will now allow that to tap down there like that and push up against where you started and usually give you a nice joint, as you can see here. Right, so that's it. I've finished the installation of the T-trim to all of the panels and I'm about ready to move on to the hinges, which is another challenge, but we'll get to that in a moment. Anyway, if you do order one of these flat pack conversion kits for the back of your van, especially the one I've got, but I guess the side one as well, if you can get those in flat pack, I don't know. Anyway, for this rear conversion, just be prepared for a lot of panels to have to put the T-trim into. There are a lot. All you need to do is just take your time, as I did, just check and double check that you're going to get the joint in the right place, particularly where you're going to put joints where there's hinges, and just make sure you get the T-trim to fit correct. And I kept double checking that to make sure, because the last thing you want to do is to get to the assembly part of the units and you find that the T-trim is not fitting correctly, because the only way to resolve that is to take it all off and start again. But of course you don't really want to do that, because the actual T-trim hammers really tight into the groove in the panels, and of course if you take it out and putting it back in again, you loosen it off and then it just won't do the job right. So anyway, at last I've put all of the T-trim in, and of course down here, which I'll show you in a moment, is where they all are. and hopefully I get this sorted out. There's a little bit of confusion with the hinges, and I'll show you that once we get started. I do hope all that made sense. So here are all the panels that have had the T-trim connected to them, and as you can see there are quite a few. And just down here is the first door that I'm going to attempt to fit. Now those yellow things that you can see are little jigs that apparently help to put the hinges on. It is slightly confusing, so as I said, we'll get into that in a while and see if we can work it out. And then over this side of my man cave, I have the main front and rear panels for the base unit that the sink and the hob will go into. And just behind those panels is the worktop and the new table. And once it's all done, this is what it's going to look like in the van. So that's it. Part 1 done with installing the T-trim. Now if you're not subscribed to the channel, why don't you consider doing that and then click that bell icon so that you'll be notified when I release the next video. And that will be installing the hinges and the locks to all of the doors. And then further on from that, of course, the whole thing's got to be assembled. The cutout for the sink and hob, installing it into the van, connecting up the gas and the water, all of that's to come. So yeah, and also give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed the video and leave a comment, and I'll see you on the next one.